sadness, grief, loss. I know that there's a lot of people out there that are dealing with grief. I made a funny picture. You know, sometimes it's just fun to put on a clown nose and take a puppet and hit him in the head. Ow! Head with a hammer. But my hand's in there, so don't do that. You know, it's hard being an entertainer because we're always supposed to put on a happy face and be happy out there. And some entertainers are sometimes the most tortured of souls. People are freaking out right now about dumb stuff sometimes, and then it's like something comes in to like remind us to call the people we love. You know, and when I was at Burning Man, I saw somebody commit suicide. I saw somebody run into the Burning Man. You know, don't try not to make things racial. You know, everybody's human. Everybody's deals with grief, anger, sadness, loss. You know, and the older that you get, the more people in your life you see pass away. You know, and dealing with the loss of loved ones, that's tough. But there's a difference between a chemical imbalance in your brain, depression, and emotions that you're going to naturally feel when stuff happens in your life. You know, it's the problems in our life. It's the hardships that we endure that builds our character, that builds our soul to be the amazing story that it is. And when we pass away and our soul goes on to the next life, you know, it's those trials and tribulations. It's that sadness you had to fight through and learn how to be happy through that really will build your character, will build the spirit body that you become. So in a certain way, yeah, life sucks sometimes. But you know, if it wasn't for that life sucking, we wouldn't grow. We wouldn't develop, you know. You know, one thing is that these events happen and politics happens and, you know, people say stuff on Facebook that bothers us. First world problems. Did you know that there's thousands of children starving to death in Yemen right now? Anyways, sometimes it seems like the richer people are, the less happy they are. You know, it's like Robin Williams committed suicide. He had everything, but he still felt lonely. He would still be in a room full of people that all loved him, and he still felt lonely. You know, sometimes it's like the more you have, the more luck you have in your life, the more fortune you have, the harder it is to be happy. Because when you're at the top, it's like you can't go any higher. You know, we all get sad. Things will make us bummed out. But telling the difference between a chemical imbalance and, you know, just you're experiencing sadness or you have a chemical dependency on drugs, knowing the difference between that will save you a lot of grief and hardship. Because I'm going to tell you something, doctors, they're trying to make money. And not all doctors have good intentions. Not all doctors have good hearts. You know, a lot of doctors that I've been to, they want to keep you coming back. And they're working with the pharmaceutical companies to keep you prescribed on drugs. You know, there's a lot of good doctors out there. You know, but think about it. When I go to doctors, they always want to have a follow-up appointment with me, even if I'm better. You know, there's that conspiracy theory that, well, they just want to keep you sick because they just, like with chemotherapy, they want to keep you coming back for more chemotherapy. And so if you can learn how to cope with your depression on your own without having to get prescribed with happy pills, you'll be so much better off. You know, because in the end, if you get prescribed with Zoloft or, you know, what is it, Prozac, you'll still be chemically dependent on that for your happiness. So here's what I do. And then the other thing is that, you know, depression, thoughts of suicide, they're actually contagious. It's like if the people around you are depressed, you will sense that and it will bring you down. Misery loves company. You know, and like I said, my father attempted suicide several times. He was not successful. I'm very happy about that. And he's very happy that he wasn't successful. you know, but seeing the guy commit suicide at Burning Man, having my father tell me that he wanted to commit suicide, it put that thought in my mind. You know, suicide is an option. And in that way, you know, when a friend commits suicide, it makes you sad, you know, that they were hurting that much, that you know, your friendship couldn't keep them from doing that. You know, it's contagious. So one thing for me is it's important to put myself in places and surround myself with people who make me happy. But if you have a friend that's depressed, you know, if you're able to cheer them up, that is very gratifying. You know, so that's why, you know, I put on the clown nose and I go with my friend to the emergency circus. And by the way, I'm posting all these resources in I'm posting all the resources that I'm mentioning in the description, okay? So rewatch the video, emergencycircus.com. Basically, my friend has a nonprofit where he goes to children's hospitals. He's in Beaumont and Houston right now, going to shelters for the hurricane victims. He goes to refugee camps. He's a really awesome guy, clay-mazing. And he puts on a clown nose and he does silly things like, not like that. That's what I would do. Wait, hold on. Let me get this guy. Oh wait, no, that's a bad idea. He goes and he puts on a clown nose and he cheers up the kids. I would never hurt an animal. Okay, banana. The reason why it's bad to kill yourself is because this lifetime is a great gift. It's a great opportunity for you to grow your soul. Everybody has their time when they're meant to die. You know, but if you kill yourself, you cut yourself short. It's like ripping a baby from the womb. Life is like unto the baby in the womb. The baby in the womb is growing fingers, eyes, nose, mouth. All these things that it doesn't need in the womb. It doesn't understand what they're going to be used for. But when the baby is born, it becomes evident what they're used for. And the same is true for our spirit body, for our soul. You see, we're growing love, wisdom, patience, kindness, mercy, all trustworthiness, all the virtues, right? These are the things that the hardships in our lives help us build. And if you're dealing with a hardship, if you're dealing with depression, and you kill yourself, you cut yourself short. It's like ripping that baby from the womb prematurely, and you won't get to fully develop. And when you go into the next world, I'm not saying I believe in heaven or hell, but when you go into the next world, this is metaphorical, everybody will be flying around with their angel wings, and you will have not grown your angel wings, and you'll be wishing that you'd stayed here a little bit longer to grow those wings so that you could fly like everybody else. And actually, I don't believe in heaven or hell. I think it's a metaphor. I think that there's many stages of the next reality that we'll go to. So, anyways, to get back on track with what I'm saying, you know, emergencycircus.com, sometimes you just need to not, you know, you need to accept that you're depressed. You need to accept that you're sad, you know, for a reason. You know, you just lost your loved one. You just lost your mother. And that's something that you're going to deal with, something that you're going to, you know, go through. You know, praying for a lost loved one is very important. Praying for the progress of their soul. Because as I was describing, the soul, you know, is growing is growing in this world. When you die and your soul goes on to the next world, it's actually very difficult for your soul to progress and grow stronger. This is the world for your soul to grow in, the physical. But if people on earth pray for somebody's soul who has died, that's one of the main ways that they can grow stronger, that their soul can grow stronger. So please, when I pass away, I hope you all pray for me. And sorry if I'm not able to answer all of your questions. I'll kind of go back through and answer some of them. It's just, I'm trying to stay on track. So, you know, somebody mentioned prayer. Prayer and meditation is very important to being happy. You know, I say, when I'm really frustrated or angry in life, I say the remover of difficulties prayer. This is a Baha'i prayer, one of the religions I was raised. Yes, Nora, I remember you. It goes, Is there any remover of difficulties? Say God. Say, praise be God. He is God. All are his servants, and all abide by his bidding. And it's even more powerful if you say it 9 times. And then, one thing that is good actually to do, that a lot of people forget about, is to meditate after you pray. Meditation, you know, is where you clear your thoughts, you clear your mind, and you just sit back and exist. Become aware of your body. And one of the best ways to clear your mind and keep your mind focused on thinking about nothing is to count your breaths, count your breathing. You can count it one count per breath in. You can count backwards from 100 per breath. Or what I like to do is I like to count 3 breaths per breath in. Per breath out, 3 counts per breath out. And I just sit there quietly for 10 to 20 minutes. And actually, if you meditate for 20 to 30 minutes a day, you will actually need 2 hours less of sleep per night. You could go from needing 8 hours of sleep to needing 6 hours of sleep. It's good for your mind, you know, and balancing your mind, body, and spirit is the key to happiness. Because look, if you're hungry, you're going to get hangry, as they call it. You're going to get angry if you're hungry. You're going to become agitated, right? If you're not taking care of your body, this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, the most fundamental foundation of you is your physical, is taking care of your health, right? And everything is linked, right? If you're feeling depressed, you'll start eating poorly, right? That's one way that people cure depression, is that they eat junk food, right? They eat comfort food. And yeah, it helps temporarily. There's a lot of quick fixes that people use to handle the depression, like drugs. You know, to me, while Prozac is better than cocaine, drugs are a quick fix to find happiness. So, you know, you have your physical is at the bottom, taking care of your health, right? And then above that is your spiritual well-being, right? Or actually, above that is like food, shelter, you know. Above that is your standing in the community, whether or not you feel loved by everybody around you. And then above that is your spirituality, right? But they're all interconnected. You know, they all need to be in balance. And if one is out of balance, it will throw everything else out of balance. But yes, prayer and meditation, that's using the spiritual to boost up the whole entire pyramid, the whole entire hierarchy. How do we stop terrorism? Well, right now, one way to stop terrorism is to not feel terrorized by the terrorists. That's the goal of the terrorists, is to make you feel scared, make you feel afraid. Stop watching horrible news channels. You know, CNN, Fox News, God, they're the worst. CNN, Fox News, you have to realize that the media actually exploits terrorism. They channel terrorism to make people afraid. You're 10 times more likely to die in an automobile accident than to die from a terrorist attack, right? Cars are way more dangerous. Anyways, a lot of people find their happy spot. We all have things that make us happy, you know? We all have activities that we do. The problem with depression, the way that depression becomes, the way we get stuck in a depression loop, is the problem with depression is when you're depressed, you don't feel like doing anything. You just want to lay around the house all day. When you don't do any activities, it makes you depressed, right? When you're sick and laying in bed, it will also make you depressed because you're not doing anything. The number one thing that makes us happy, well, is accepting and is giving and receiving love from our loved ones, the people that care about us. The second most important thing that makes us happy is accomplishing our dreams. is feelings of accomplishment. When you went out there and you did something that you were proud of. You know, you had a goal and you accomplished it. You know, the Baha'i Faith, what I was raised, they have elevated work. If you are working hard, service of humanity, even if you're earning a wage, that is like you're worshiping God, right? And we all have a piece of God in us. That's what we're connected to the higher force. And so if you go out and work and you're able to fake it till you make it, even if you don't like the job, trick your mind into, you know, if you're doing some menial tasks, sweeping the floors at McDonald's, like I worked at McDonald's and I swept the floors, and I would always just daydream while I was doing that. I would go on imaginary adventures inside my mind while I was sweeping. You know, and I made that job fun. You have to find little things that you enjoy about everyday life that are fun. You know what makes me angry, though? Is when I have a goal. Like, you know, I need to, like, go to the DMV. And then I drive all the way to the DMV, and then it closes right before I get there. You know, it's dealing with defeat is something that I struggle with every day because I'm a perfectionist. And the thing that I always keep in mind that I need to realize is even if you don't accomplish that goal that you wanted to accomplish, sometimes, you know, they say it's not the destination, it's the journey. Sometimes the process of me trying to obtain that goal that I was defeated on brings me to a new place that I needed to go to. Does that make sense? You know, one thing that's important to keep in mind is that, you know, I said the thing about not all doctors are good, and a lot of doctors want to keep you coming around. I think a lot of mental problems in this country are due to drugs, right? And I was talking about how, when you are laying in bed all day, you'll become depressed. I mean, don't try that, but depressed people go into a downward spiral of depression because they're depressed, they don't want to get out of bed. And because they don't do anything with their day, they become more depressed. And you see, I think that we are all born with the tools that we need. What happens is that when we start to make mental connections in our minds, we will make permanent connections. You see, our brain is constantly altering its DNA of the nerve connections because we're making all these different little connections in between the gray matter connecting the white matter. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So your white matter is the actual neurons, and the gray matter is the matter in between the neurons that create the pathways in between your actual nerve cells. So our brain is actually changing. It's forming based on our thoughts. This is the power of thoughts and the power of good intentions. It's the fake it till you make it. It's telling yourself, I'm going to be happy today, and I'm going to get up, and I'm going to go jogging, and I'm going to do the things that I love to do, even when you feel depressed. Because when you lay in bed all day, you get more depressed. Then you want to lay in bed even more. What this is doing is it's solidifying those neuron connections that are causing your depression. You get stuck in a feedback loop, right? And you have to jump yourself out of it to get into a different loop. And maybe that's why some people thought that electroshock therapy was successful, is maybe that jumped people out of a mental loop that they're having. Somebody said, think about that. Sometimes what it takes is writing down the things that make you happy. Write down all the things that make you happy. Write down all the hopes and dreams that you have. And be willing to accept that maybe you won't achieve all of those hopes and dreams. Be willing to accept that. But be willing to take a moment and enjoy everything around you. Maybe it's not accomplishing that goal that you were supposed to do, And for me, I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a successful musician. I have music out there. You guys can check some of it out on my Reverb Nation or my SoundCloud. I traveled to Africa, recorded traditional African music. I wasn't able to become a successful musician. But through practicing music, through being a human statue, I discovered levitation. And I came full circle back to my original dream as a child was to be an inventor. And I've invented magic. I've invented versions of levitation. So it brought being willing to alter my goals, to alter my plans in life, to notice when a new door was opening up and go down it. That willingness to be flexible with my dreams and my goals, and to stop trying to swim upstream, to stop banging my head into a wall. That willingness to change, to go for something different, that has made me happy, because that's really the willingness to accept a different adventure. You know, if you have this goal of being a famous sports star, you know, and you tear your Achilles tendon, but you still keep struggling and trying, you know, that struggle will bring you frustration. But the willingness to go down a different pathway, to find something else through all that, that will bring you to happiness. That will bring you to a new adventure rather than being stuck, you know. Some people get depressed because they're stuck. You know, and in the end, if depression persists, you know, if you tried all these tools of prayer, meditation, fake it till you make it, then maybe you do have a chemical imbalance that needs to be treated by a doctor, that needs to be treated by prescription. But I will tell you this. I've been down to Skid Row, and that is the largest homeless population in America. The majority of homeless people that I see that are struggling on the streets, probably about 60% of them have mental problems. But over half of those people with mental problems developed those mental problems because they abused drugs and alcohol. You see, cocaine depletes your dopamine. Dopamine and serotonin are the two chemicals that are necessary for happiness. Now, when you take opiates or alcohol, this also makes you depressed. Those are depressants. They depress your brain. They depress your entire system, right? So drug abuse will lead to mental problems over time. You know, methamphetamine, that eats holes in your brain. MDMA, the MA in MDMA is methamphetamine, right? You're taking a synthesized version of methamphetamine, and yeah, ecstasy makes you happy during the time being, but they've attributed anxiety and depression for the long run to brain damage caused by MDMA. So, yes, while drugs will, you know, there's certain, you know, psychedelics, mushrooms, ayahuasca, that can cause you to have a spiritual experience. And, you know, I've asked myself sometimes, why do I need to take this psychedelic to remind me of what's important in life? My spiritual journey. The last time that I took psychedelics, what the message that it told me was, you don't need psychedelics anymore to remind you of what your purpose is. And you know, the way that psychedelics can permanently damage your brain if you abuse them is, you see, your brain, when you create these connections, when you take a psychedelic, it crosses the wires in between your neurons. That's why why you're able to tap into parts of your brain that you wouldn't normally be able to access. But if you continually do them too many times, you can permanently cross those wires, because that's how your brain functions. You know, when you keep making these connections, when you keep having these negative thoughts, when it becomes habitual, your brain will change its chemistry. It will actually change its DNA and make that permanent. And then it's very hard to reverse it. So, you know, that's what I do. For anybody that has lost loved ones recently, you know, I was just in Las Vegas, MGM Grand Hat, because I used to work at the MGM, who is the owner of Mandalay Bay, actually. I used to live there in the casino. If you've lost loved ones, there's victim services in every state. There's Nevada Victim Services, there's California Victim Services, and they are handling people who are victims in this tragedy. They are helping people. Even they will help you with lost wages if you've lost wages because you had to go to a funeral, because you lost a loved one. You know, there's victim services, and I'm posting these links in the description. You know, my friend also does the emergency circus. If you're in crisis, you know, you can message my friend Claymazing. He's the cowboy in one of the more recent videos that I made. You know, the gun video, the cowboy tricks video. I've gone on tour with him to group homes, women's shelters, you know, foster care centers, refugee camps. He's in Texas right now doing shows for the hurricane victims. Message him. He'll put on a clown nose, and him and his circus clowns will come out and do a circus show and cheer you up. You know, sometimes you just gotta honk your nose. Sometimes you gotta like squash that ego and be a silly pants. You know, don't be afraid to be silly and to fart in the elevator. Okay, guys? Don't be afraid, because who gives a crap, you know? Who really cares about what other people think about you? You know, you need to stop caring. I mean, it's important to care if you have a positive effect on people, and if people, you know, it's good to care if people love and appreciate you. We all want to be valuable members of our tribe. You know, we all want to have that sense of accomplishment, like we're valued in our community. And that's why you got to get up and do the things that you love and figure out how to align your hobbies with something that people appreciate, something that people love. And that's why I became a musician. That's why I became a magician. You know, sometimes hobbies like playing video games and watching TV, it's to a certain extent it's escapism. You know, I go out into nature and I appreciate nature. Going for a hike, going camping, you know, being in nature and watching animals. You know, playing with this little doggy. He's so cute, huh? He's tired right now. I know he's a little depressed. Playing with your the doggy. I mean, calling your mom and telling her that you love her. These are the things that we know will make us happy, and certain hobbies make us more happy than others. In my opinion, hobbies that are more like escapism, like watching TV and playing video games, you don't have that much of an accomplishment afterwards. You know, you don't, when you watch a lot of TV, you just kind of feel brain dead afterwards. And you don't have anything that you're proud of to stand back and look and say, look, I made that painting. Look at this painting that I made. Here, I'm going to show you guys. I just came back to my home, right? I made this painting when I was 20 years old. You know, I really enjoyed painting that painting. Right? It's really dark. It's like hell is bursting forth from the ground. And you know, in that way I channeled my sadness, my depression, my anger into a painting. You know, when I get angry, I like to work out. I like to, oh my gosh, this thing is so crazy. This is my new house. I'm going to show it to you in the next live stream. Sometimes I like to, you know, lift weights. When I get mad, I lift weights. I channel that energy, that angry, frustrated energy, you know, into what I'm doing. I, you know, go chop wood. You know, sometimes I gotta become Santa Claus for a day, you know? I know I'm getting silly, guys. But look, I just went to my favorite place, the most beautiful place in the world. I went to here, Bryce Canyon. If you could see that. These places make me happy. These places make me happy. Now, there's some help you guys can get. If you are struggling with depression, suicide, there's the suicide hotline, right? There's besthelp.com. This is a great resource. If you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling sad, right? Besthelp.com. And tell them that Special had sent you. I'm going to put the link in the description. You know, for me, sometimes I need to clear the air. You know, I need to sit back. I need to pray and meditate. I light sage. You know, this is part of my spirituality, is I smudge myself. We all get a little bit crazy sometimes, and just realize it's natural. We are the most complex mental beings on this planet. I love and appreciate... What's your question? Sorry, Nora. I'm too much time. What was your question? Oh, that's so cool. So now I'm gonna see what you guys have to say. I'm gonna look at your questions. You know, sometimes I need to smudge myself. Sometimes I need to clear the air in the room, you know? Aromatherapy. When I get angry, when I get frustrated in life, the thing that I love to do is I go to a spa. I go sweat out the toxins, and that's a body purification process where I sweat all the toxins out, and it helps me relax. It helps me to meditate when I go into the spa, when I sit in the hot tub, when I sit in the sauna. And that's part of my spirituality. Actually, Banana, I think that the most important thing is to find the most productive ways to be happy. And the most productive, the most long-lasting, permanent ways to find happiness is through accomplishing your goals, through finding love in your community, through loving other people. Because think about it. You could give a gift to someone. That makes two people happy, right? You give the gift, you feel happy. And the person receiving the gift makes you feel happy. Say you have a friend that really needs a lawnmower, right? He could go out and buy a lawnmower. He gets happy. But if you buy your friend a lawnmower, you both get happy. And that's why love and generosity is, you know, that's one of the more permanent ways to be happy. Yeah. Take a break in nature. You know, I think that we get depressed when we're stuck inside too much. When we are on our computers too long, it makes us depressed. When we're sitting in front of a computer screen, right? Try to take 30 minutes a day to go out and be amongst nature. And again, if you're struggling with thoughts of suicide, there's the suicide prevention hotline. If you're struggling with depression, there's a great online resource where you can take a survey to see if you suffer from depression. It's called besthelp.com. I'm going to post these in the description of the video. Oh my gosh, how do I not get mentally sick? You know, the levitation, really, it takes a lot out of me physically. I call it anti-yoga or reverse yoga because I have to do yoga to put my chakras back in balance. It's actually not very good for me. Too much time on my tablet. Dude, Nora, just put the tablet down. This is the thing, is that one of the problems why so many of us are struggling with depression and sadness and being angry all the time is we become so used to, we're the generation of instant gratification where our parents give us tablets when we're babies. They give us the smartphones. You know, when I was growing up, there were no cell phones when I was a kid, you know? And when I was in junior high, they said that any kid with a cell phone is a drug dealer, right? A kid with a pager is probably a drug dealer, right? Those are the times that I grew up in. But now it's like, look, we get on Facebook and this is the validation station. This is where we post things and try to validate our existence with all of our friends and family. You know, they're like, oh, I'm important. People care what I said. They liked what I said and they commented on my post. You know, so that little screen, the screen that I'm talking to you on now, I mean, it's nice because we can stay connected. We can stay connected more. But, you know, it becomes an addiction for some people. And people get angry and people lose friends because, you know, when you're typing on a computer screen, it's really hard to see the non-verbal cues of communication, like how I can wink at you, How I'm smiling at you. You can't see that clown nose that I had. Anyways, we missed out on a lot of communication when we're just doing Facebook posts. And when we spend a lot of time on our screens, it just, I don't know, I just feel like it sucks the life out of us. And that's why it's important to take 30 minutes a day. Go out to a park. Go out into nature. Take a hike in the mountains or in the forest or in your desert. You know, go and meet some people. You know, go find what you like to do and look in your community. Oh, say you like crocheting. Say you like, sewing. There's probably a crochet sewing group. Okay, so now I'm going to answer your questions, everybody. Hey, what's up, Lucas? Just remember, guys, you know, we're all children of the Creator, you know. We are trying to know our Creator, and to know Creator is to know oneself. Don't feel bad if you struggle in life. You know, don't feel bad if you're sad. Like I said before, those struggles and trials and tribulations, what I had to deal with, because I was in Las Vegas an hour before the shooting happened in Mandalay Bay. I was at Mandalay Bay an hour before it happened. I see this on the headlines. And I had to deal with survivor's guilt, right? They're like, why me? Why did I know? Why? I had this premonition. I thought to myself, gosh, with so many people in Las Vegas, when there's so many people around, why hasn't a terrorist targeted Las Vegas? Because, you know, the religious extremists, Las Vegas represents everything that they hate. I was like, why do they not target that? And then that happened that day. I was thinking that thought walking around Las Vegas, right? And then, right, an hour before the shooting happened, I got a really, really bad feeling, right? I'm serious. I felt like it was chaotic. I just felt the chaos in Las Vegas, and I was like, sweetheart, Melissa, let's get out of this town. Let's go. We left earlier. We wanted to see some more things, but we left. You know, we wanted to see the aquarium at Mandalay Bay, but we left early. And then when we were driving in the car, 30 minutes later, this wave of depression overcame me. I felt so much depression. And I didn't know why. I was just bummed out. I wanted to die. I wanted to commit suicide at that moment. You know? And it was at that moment that I was feeling those thoughts that the shooting was happening. And you know, these experiences have told me that I am what they call an empath, right? I sense energies, I sense feelings, and it makes me feel, right? Other people's bad, negative energy will rub off onto me, and I will feel that. And my mother, ever since I was a child, my mother knew that I was psychic, that I had psychic abilities. Just remember, you're not alone. Okay, now I'm going to answer the questions. What are my thoughts on the Mandalay Bay? Pit Fiend, are you still there? Okay, so I'm going to answer your questions. What was your question? Oh, I found that my friends are way too different. I don't know what to do. I just can't say I don't want to be your friend anymore. You don't have to. Here's the thing about your friends being different than you. Look, I have friends that are way different than me. I have friends that are transsexual. I have gay friends. You know, I have friends that are black. I have friends that are Republicans. I am not a Republican or a Trump supporter. But I have friends that support Trump. And the thing to remember is that because people are different than you, you're actually able to learn more from them. If we were all the same, exactly the same, it would be boring. You see, it's a Baha'i belief that unity through diversity is the key to world peace. Because we're all different, that's what makes us stronger. You see, because we all have all these different attributes and things that are different, we can learn from each other. And one of the downfalls of the hippie generation, of the flower children, is that all these like-minded people moved out into the middle of nowhere. It was the tune in, tune out, drop out mentality of Timothy Leary. All the hippies started these little hippie communes, and they became extremists because they were preaching to the choir. All these like minds with nobody there to challenge them, right? And that breeds extremism, and extremism is bad. It's always great if, glacis is a word that I want you to know. Glacis means the neutral ground between two opposing forces. If you're able to find the glacis in between the extremes, you're able to unite people. And now I'm going to answer another question. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's like, look, sometimes, you know, your people are too different. You drift apart. If you lose friends, you know, I've met so many people, and like, the most important thing is to not burn bridges, you know? When you have a problem with a friend because you have a disagreement, I say just try to not burn a bridge. You know, if you have a friend that's being mean to you, that's struggling, just feel bad for them, that they're having a hard time. Say, you know what? They're having a really hard time in life. They're being really mean to me, and they're probably hurting more than I am. You know, that's awesome. Okay, so, hey, Lucas, I'm going to answer you. Oh, wait, no. Somebody asked me about the shooter. I forget who it is. Well, okay, Joey, that's an easier question. Do people not violate you when you walk past? You know, I just went to the spa, and I got very upset because I had a guy, he made me feel violated. You know, I've actually been violated sexually before, but when I was at the spa, I was in the steam room, and this guy comes in, I go into the steam room, and this guy follows me in. He sits down next to me. He's like this older man, and I see him open his legs, and he starts grabbing his dick, right? He starts touching himself. And I move away from him. I move up to the back row and further away. You know what he does? He comes over to me and he sits right in front of me so that I have to look at him and his boner while he's stroking it. And I yelled at him, right? I was like, what the is your problem? You saw me move away from you. You saw me come over here because I didn't want to see you playing with yourself, man. He got up and he walked out of there. He didn't say anything. You know, and it's like, I guess that's a cruising ground for gay guys. In the sauna, but I totally felt violated, you know, and I'm not homophobic, you know, but it gave me insight to what women must have to deal with, because men harass women all the time, you know, and they have to deal with that crap all the time. I talked to my girlfriend, I told my girlfriend this story, and she told me there's been 2 occurrences where she's seen guys come up and start jerking off in front of her. Okay, so sorry, I wanted to answer. Okay, Pit Fiend, are you still there? Okay, there you are. Sorry, I'm gonna answer your question. I'm gonna talk about this shooter. Okay, so Pit Fiend asked me, what do I think about the shooter? Here's what I have to say, because I've been paying attention to the news. I feel like after I talk about this, I'm gonna have to clear the air with some sage. And for those of you who are new into this conversation, I'm talking about depression, anger, sadness, and grief and loss, and how to cope with this. I talked about many tools in the beginning of this video, and in the description, I'm going to post some resources. besthelp.com. There's a suicide national hotline. There's also, each state has a crisis, victims, a victims services board. So just Google that stuff. But anyways, Pit Fiend, I told you I'd answer your question. I'm just holding off because it's a very weighted question, and it really bothers me. And like I said, after I saw the eclipse, I felt like the world was getting worse. I feel like we're going to need to get worse before we get better. Many traditional peoples, like the Dene, which is the Navajo, many traditional peoples believe that following a solar eclipse, a total eclipse, that there are horrible atrocities happen to the world, that natural disasters happen, that it's a very bad time. So I feel like when that eclipse happened, I felt like a darkness has befallen me, it befallen the earth. You know, there's earthquakes, there's hurricanes have happened, and now the worst mass shooting in America. The shooter. This man had it all. He had 2 airplanes. He was a millionaire. He had a wife. He didn't have children. Right, that's one big point, is because your life changes when you have children. I don't have kids, but I'm very much looking forward to having children. Children makes you think about the next generation. It makes you learn love, right? Having children is one of the best ways that you can learn how to love more. how you can care about something more than yourself and care about the future of the world through having kids. He didn't have any kids, but that's not why he did this, because a lot of people don't have kids. You know, this man was a avid gambler. Now, there's been theories because he worked for Lockheed Martin for decades, and Lockheed Martin is a top secret company, right? Lockheed Martin is the United States' #1 defense contractor. Lockheed Martin creates top secret technologies. Some people, conspiracy theorists, have theorized that they were doing experiments on this man, that they were doing experiments in mind control. Right? It's just so bizarre that he was working for a top secret company, that he had a position higher up in this top secret government contracting company. Right? That's a little strange because the government has done, the CIA, the military has done mind control experiments on people before using LSD. Right? I'm sure you guys know about this. They were testing LSD on soldiers. So here's the thing, I think. This guy planned this attack because he didn't leave a manifesto. He didn't leave a suicide note. He sent $100,000 to his girlfriend in the Philippines right before he did it. That was like, you know, his last token of a gift to her because he knew he was going to do this. He had also bought nice hotel rooms above other big concerts, right? He had bought a hotel room above Lollapalooza in Chicago before. He had bought, you know, hotel rooms above other major concert festivals, right? So he had done this and not attended the festivals. So he had fantasized about this before he did it, right? He had gone to these, you know, casinos, or he had gone to these hotels and sat above these concerts and looked down at all these people, fantasizing about taking an automatic rifle and shooting them all, right? That's what he had fantasized about. You know, he liked games of chance. He liked gambling. And, you know, in shooting a gun, part of that, I mean, there's aim involved, but shooting at a bunch of people running away, that's like a game of chance, right? He's like, how many people can I kill? How many people can I wound that are all scurrying and running away while I stand on top of this hotel room and shoot down at them, right? But in the end, this man had it all. And see, this is what I'm talking about, the Robin Williams syndrome. Why so many famous people, Kurt Cobain, you know, why do so many people commit suicide? It's because they're at the top. They have it all. They have everything. Everybody loves them, right? They have so many adoring fans. But they still feel lonely. They still feel sad. They still feel bummed out in life. And they're at the top and there's no higher that they can go, you know? Also, when you have unlimited resources, when you're at the top, there's nothing more to shoot for. You have everything already. And if you're still not happy, there's no hope for happiness. Do you see what I'm saying? So this man had everything. He had done everything in life, right? He had airplanes. He flew around. He, you know, was a high-stakes gambler. He got off on that adrenaline rush of gambling. You know, he was not spiritual. He did not go to church. He did not practice any religion. He did not believe in God. He was an atheist, right? And that's an issue right there. I think that having a higher goal, a higher spirituality will make you happier in life, right? It will give you something to shoot for, greater than just eating, sleeping, and reproducing, right? Now, having that greater purpose in life, that will bring you happiness. I know I messed up this video a little bit, but look, to this shooter, that mass shooting he did, standing in front of the top of the casino, he wanted to go out with a fucking bang. He had done everything already. He was probably had some kind of sickness You know, he probably knew that, you know, felt his body fading as he got older. You know, and he didn't want to grow old. He lived in a retirement community, and he saw all the old people around him growing old and getting sick and getting more miserable as they got sick. And he didn't want to die that way. He wanted to go out with a bang and do something crazy. He wanted to fulfill his fantasy that he'd been having. He wanted to experience what it was like to kill people. He wanted to have that experience, that ultimate adrenaline rush, that ultimate game of chance. And he, pardon my French, fucked up so many people's lives so that he could get gratified. Because he didn't have spirituality, because he didn't have a greater purpose in life that told him, no, learning how to love your fellow man, being generous and selfless to everyone, that's the greater purpose. Okay, so anyways, anyways, I have to clear the man. I have to clear the room a little bit because that was really intense for me to talk about that. Fucking shooter guy. There's a lot of evil in the world. And you know, some of the most evil people are the ones that have the power. They're the richest people in the world. You know, this is a true thing. My girlfriend, she's going to work on a film. She does professional makeup. She's going to work on a series about human trafficking and child trafficking. And if you've heard of the Illuminati, it's real. The Illuminati is the richest families in the world. They all get together, they collude, they buy into this thing called the Bohemian Grove, and they have these meetings where they basically sacrifice a virgin or something like that. One of the ways to have a secret society and to get people to not rat out your secret society and talk about the secret society is part of the entrance to that secret society is you make people undergo some kind of ceremony. Good night, Lucas. Some kind of ceremony where they do something so abhorrent that they are sworn to secrecy about the organization, because if they speak about the organization, they will reveal this horrible thing that you did. This is what Skull and Bones does, right? Several of our presidents, Bush, Clinton, have been in Skull and Bones. This is what the Illuminati does. And there's child trafficking that goes on. And some of the richest people in the world engage in child rape. They engage in killing children. And you see, this is because they have so much money they can hide behind their money. Because you see, bribery still happens in America. You could bribe the FBI, but because FBI agents are paid so well, the stakes are higher. It costs probably about $500,000 to bribe an FBI agent, right? Maybe $1 million. But you could still bribe. And you see a lot of people, it's hard to fight against these very, very rich people because, look, if you can pay a team of 10 lawyers to litigate, you could fight against anybody. How am I, a simple man, going to fight against the richest man in the world in court and say, oh, they raped me when I was a child? Sometimes they just kill the children. Anyways, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to become so dark. It just went down a dark path. And Nora, to answer your question, don't worry if you die before you accomplish your dreams. You know? When it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And there's so much more after this life. There's so much more. You're meant to go when you're meant to go. And to me, if I die sooner, it will be a relief. Try not to have any regrets. And remember, besthelp.com or Suicide Prevention Hotline. I appreciate each and every one of you. You're all my supporters. You're all my friends. Remember, love is the answer. Spirituality.